about 6 months of age, and when she was a year old, she lost speech. Very little speech, mama, dada, and that was it. I also thought she was going deaf at a time, probably age 1. She seemed to stare out the window a lot, and I could not get eye contact with her. She had no acknowledgement of me walking into a room. She did never seem to request me for anything, even for food. Her pediatrician, he told me over the phone that I should just put her in an institution. I was devastated. What's an institution? A hospital. Yeah, isn't that nice?
Mostly the behavior started at night, but it was invading the day, where he would just speak one syllable and babble and pace around. He liked to tie strings to all the doorknobs in the house so that he could open them all at once. And one morning I came home and I came downstairs and he had been up all night and had tied strings at waist level to everything to which a string could be attached. And he was very upset when I undid it. And upset if I would move a salt shaker or a pepper shaker, so he couldn't find it. And we had tantrum behavior, difficult to do haircuts, difficult to do baths, difficult to do examinations, difficult to get out of the house on time, to do things, to eat. It was a relief to know that there was something that we could put a name to that was causing it. The neurologist who diagnosed Ruffin was very clear and very blunt with me. He told me that it was possible or likely that Ruffin would never be employed, that he would never work productively, that he would not know that I loved him, nor would he love me, nor would he be likely to marry. And that if I had money, I should probably invest it because I would need it to be able to care for him lifetime. It was pretty discouraging. And by the end of that evening, I was very appropriately panicked.
We were told, oh, no, it's not like that. Just keep yourselves happy, keep yourselves together. Make sure that you don't separate over, because a lot of people end up getting divorced because of the stress. And just love him, but there's a good chance, there's a 50% chance that he won't be able to talk at all. But if he does talk, he will only be able to, make simple desire requests. I want, things like that. So it'll be lucky if he did that. And probably by the time he was 10, he'd be in a home. And for some reason, we walked out of there and we trusted her. We oh my gosh, and I don't know why, we felt okay at that moment. And then a couple weeks after that, we just were devastated and we couldn't believe what we had heard.
Nick was nonverbal till he was 2 years old. We had lots of behavioral problems with him, but we didn't really know what was wrong with him until he was 4. And in between 2 and 4, we had a lot of social problems at school that were somewhat mysterious.
He had a hard time adapting to any kind of daycare situations. This culminated in preschool, where we got a call one day saying, I'm really worried about your son because he's just lying down on the floor and he's not working with the other kids. And he was also tracing things on the floor, like the patterns of blocks and following them. But when I got there, it was very dramatic because it was a whole room of kids playing sort of around the perimeter of the room with their playstations doing things. And in the center of the room, sucking his thumb, just curled up on his blanket, was Nick.
I was given a prognosis by another doctor who essentially told me to take him home and make him comfortable, put him in a special education class in public school, and to not be stressed out about anything because wasn't that much I could do.
What you really have to do, I think, as a parent when you first start is just not be afraid and not blame yourself or get away from the negative emotions and just start to really do what's positive, because there's a lot you can do. You just have to get over the blaming of yourself and the why did this happen to me and there's no end to this. Once you're over those initial steps and stages, I think you become very proactive. There's a lot of good intervention right now for children with autism, and there's a lot of adults out there who are amongst us and working who perhaps used to be autistic and nobody knows because they recovered.
We had gone to a parents group meeting and Doreen Gramshay was there and she talked about the therapy. She was very upbeat and she said that oh, don't worry about it, we'll have him talking. At a certain point you're gonna wish that we never taught him how to talk. And I said I understand what you're saying, but I will never ever say that, and I never ever have.
Autism is a childhood developmental disorder that is characterized by problems or delays or impairments in basically 3 areas of functioning. First area is social skills. So children with autism have pretty significantly delayed social skills. They won't have eye contact with anyone. They won't develop peer relationships. They won't develop friendships or want to play with another child. The second area is communication. So children with autism will generally have either delayed language or language that's not appropriate to context. And the third area is what's called self-stimulatory or ritualistic behavior. And these are things like hand flapping or body rocking, lining up their toys instead of playing with them, those types of things. If you have a total of 6 symptoms within these 3 areas, you will receive a diagnosis of autism. If you have fewer than that, but you still have pervasive delays within those 3 areas, then you'll get a diagnosis of pervasive developmental disorder, or PDD. Now, if you don't have a language delay, but you still have those kind of aberrant behaviors and you still have the social delays, then you'll have a diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome. So there are very subtle differences between them, and they are all part of the autism spectrum, these different diagnoses. And of course, if a child has fewer delays or less pronounced delays, they're likely to do better. But even if children have symptoms in all areas, and if they are still young, you can pretty much get rid of all those symptoms and teach the child to function normally in many cases.
Here we go. There. Whoa! Your head!
Doreen told me that he would recover, and Doreen told me that he would go to regular kindergarten.
ABA is an intervention that's based on modifying consequences and antecedents to a behavior. So through this type of intervention, you change what's happening before a child's behavior and what's happening after a child's behavior, and therefore you change the child's behavior by doing this. Now, what's involved in ABA is decreasing challenging behaviors or behaviors that are maladaptive and inappropriate, and increasing skills that are deficient. So when I have a child coming in at age, let's say 3, their chronological age is 3, but when you test them, they're functioning like a 1-year-old. So now I have a 2-year gap that I need to catch this child up, and by the time the child's 4, that gap's going to be 3 years, and by the time he's 5, that gap's going to increase. Now, if I start intervention with a 5-year-old child whose chronological age is 5, and his mental age has still stayed around 1 or 2, it's a much harder job. It's impossible for me to use the next 2 or 3 years to catch him up, because he'll be 7, he'll be 8. It is very, very difficult to teach all the skills that a 7 or 8-year-old needs. It's not so difficult to teach all the skills that a 2-year-old needs. So after the first meeting, which is usually the diagnosis or confirmation of diagnosis, we will conduct a series of assessments. And these are both standardized tests where we're measuring things like IQ or language ability according to the age of the child, or adaptive functioning, as well as skills assessments. So that's where we're looking at exact skills. So is this child able to understand action words? Is this child able to pick up labels that we name? Is the child able to play with a friend? Does the child have appropriate eye contact? Very, very specific skills. Once we've established that, we can generate a program, because the child's program has to be very specific for him or her, so that you're only teaching those skills that are deficient in that particular child, and not just sort of doing a cookbook type of approach. And the amazing thing is that as soon as you start teaching some of the basic skills, the child's challenging behaviors drop. Like, one of the very first things we teach is requesting. As soon as you teach a child how to request for things he or she wants, he no longer has to tantrum to get those things. So the tantrums go down immediately after the child picks up requesting or manding programs. The therapists are generally extremely positive. The whole concept of ABA is based on reinforcement. When you ask a child to do something, there has to be a fair level of reinforcement so that the child is motivated. And so the therapists are extremely positive, and they bring a lot of both social reinforcement and even tangible type of reinforcers for the children so that they will continue.
Jana at intake was actually, what we would consider a very classic case. She had no language, she was very distant from her family, she had very poor eye contact, really disconnection from all social environments. She had very minimal appropriate play skills. They were all very rote and perseverative. And she even had self-injurious behaviors, and she used to bang her head when she got frustrated on the ground.
I relate to the first 3 months, how difficult they were letting go. That was the hard part, is entrusting someone else with your child. You're giving up your sole responsibility or concerns to someone else, handing her over. That was probably my biggest tough thing. And Doreen helped me a lot through that. I remember talking to her personally, Doreen, I can't take it. But we did it.
When they get involved with us, one of the things we do is we really take them through step by step, and we teach them not only how to handle their children's challenging behaviors, but how to teach their children skills that are adaptive and help them lead more normal lives every single day. I think the involvement we have, if you can imagine having, therapists in your house 30, 40 hours a week, in itself is such a huge support to the family.
She was 36, 38 hours a week with Vince.
Good looking. There once was a rabbit named Scotty.
Scotty.
Scotty was white and black.
White and black.
Uh-huh. He liked to eat carrots and celery.
And celery.
Mm-hmm. What was the rabbit's name?
Rabbit. Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
Bunny's name is...
What was the bunny's name?
I can't get it.
Okay, I'll say it again. Are you listening?
Yeah.
Okay, listen good. There once was a bunny named Scotty.
Scotty.
Scotty was black and white.
Black and white.
He liked to eat carrots and celery.
Carrots and celery.
Yeah, hands down. What was the bunny's name? No. What was the bunny's name?
His name is Giant.
No. What was the bunny's name? Scotty.
Scotty.
Good. What was the bunny's name?
Scotty.
Good. What color was the bunny?
Black and white.
Good.
Like
What did he like to eat?
carrots and
Try.
I don't know.
Oh, good. Celery.
Celery.
Yeah. What does he like to eat?
Celery. That's a hard name.
What else does he like to eat?
Carrots,
Good. Okay, so what does he like to eat?
celery, and carrots.
Very good. What was the bunny's name?
And the name is
No. What was the bunny's name? No. What was the bunny's name?
Scotty.
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 Good. What was the bunny's name?
Scotty.
Good. Good. What color was he?
Black and white.
Very good. What was his name?
Scotty.
Very good. Good job. All done.
13, 12 years later, I have 2 daughters of my own. So it was, Jana was always considered my first daughter. I actually still have, which is kind of funny, I remember it. I still have her ID bracelet on my keychain, which she gave to me the day they moved out of town. So it's something that I always keep dear to me, as well as I think one of the other things that left such a good impression with me was how much of an impact I had on the overall family, not just Jana. Mom and dad really took to heart the recommendations and things that I had for them, as well as the supervision at the time. I was close with all the siblings and made sure that they were playing with Jana and integrating her and felt comfortable with her disability, but yet didn't treat her any different. And I do remember that one of the times when she was older, probably about first grade or so, where she finally asked, "Why do you come and see me?" And that's how we talked about it. Just, I come and help you so that you can do well in school, so that you can talk good with your friends, so to make sure that, you understand things, because sometimes friends do things that are confusing and stuff like that. And I said, as soon as you know all that, just tell me, because then I don't need to come anymore. And sure enough, that day came, which was good.
You just forget the camera's here.
How can I forget it was a little? I know. It's a
Just
little
just
red
pretend it's
dot.
not on.
How can you pretend?
The red dot means it's on.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it does. It's not playing. Oh, and now it's playing. I saw it wasn't playing. I caught you. Now it's playing.
How would you describe how Jana's doing now?
Teenager, non-compliant. We need therapy again now. They have a mind of their own.
Dad, show Mom.
Do you have a boyfriend yet?
No.
No?
Good.
Or not one that you'd want to talk about in front of Mom.
But we saw that boy at the Cal Poly game.
What Cal Poly? He lives by Grandma and he bugs me all the time.
Oh, well, we always see him.
Because he bugs me, that's why. He always follows me, it's so creepy.
But you don't like him?
No.
No.
But one time I'm grateful because my friend, I didn't know how to get my grandma's house, and so I made them lost for about an hour. It's like a mile away. And so, but the gate, like she lives in a gay community and the time changes. I mean, not the time, but the password. And so I didn't know the night password, and so I couldn't get in. But then he was luckily, you know, outside, and I yelled at him, and he opened it for us.
Oh.
That was the only reason that's good.
She draws beautifully. It's really neat. You've been with your art lessons
For a year.
Yeah, right there in Pismo Beach.
About a year and a half.
It's really great.
Well, he wants me to do people, trees, just like animals. And that's basically it. It's only pencil.
You got your first artist job from him. He said he'd pay you to do sketching of his.
He has 2 pugs, so.
So hey,
So you have like your first artist commission.
artist commission, yeah.
That's wonderful. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
We have had a very different family life. From the time, I mean, it's very hard to send your kid off to school at 3 years old, you know, to public school. And it was difficult having all of the people in our house. I mean, we had a full team. We were continually scheduling all of that. And, you know, we were working through Christmas. We were working through Easter. You know, it was pretty dire the first couple of years.
So with Ruffin, I started from the very beginning. So it was, he could make sounds, and I think he had a few words, not very many, but none of them were under SD control. So he might blurt out a word here and there, but he wasn't reliably responding or using a certain word for an item or a greeting or any of that.
Say mommy. Good. Say Donna. Good. Say da. Good. Say Donna. That sounds wonderful.
So I remember sitting down the first day, and he really liked dinosaurs. So I wanted to teach him like the names of some of the dinosaurs because that was relevant to what his interests were. The first day, I think he actually was able to chain some of the words. I think rhinoceros.
Say rhinoceros. Rhinoceros.
You have to work on a not to say not.
Say not. Not rhinoceros.
Say no. Say not.
Not.
Good. Say good talking. Say nasser.
Nasser.
Good. Rapid. Say nasser.
Nasser.
Good. Rapid. Look at mommy. Say nasserus. No. Rapid. Good try. Good try. Good try. Say nasserus. Good.
It's very important to identify in each child exactly what types of skills are missing and whether or not it's possible to teach those skills. So for instance, if you have a child who is really not able to learn from their environment because their attention is very deficient, or they have a very significant problem in memory, so they can't really learn anything new. Everything they learn, they forget after a while. If you can identify those types of processing issues, then you can actually reverse them. You can actually teach the child how to improve attention, how to improve memory. And so as you're teaching skills, you're not just teaching content material of skills, you're actually teaching the child ways to survive and ways to continue learning.
He had about 40 hours a week of one-to-one instruction with the applied behavior analysis at home. And then in addition to that, he had about 30 hours a week in early childhood special education. There, they were not interested in teaching him to talk. They were interested in teaching him to sign. And we had videotapes of what went on in that classroom. I was convinced the classroom was a safe babysitting opportunity. So we used those 30 hours to plan what we were going to do with him. But it did not take us very long to figure out as a family that it was going to work with him. We saw some very immediate improvements. His IQ scores began to climb from an original Bailey score of 50 to scores that approached 94 on a Stanford Binet after a little while. And then his IQ has continued to rise so that now it's about in the 120s. So we saw the kind of results that were seen in the research. What do you see flying in the air?
Airplane?
Airplanes fly in the air. What else flies in the air?
Bird.
Birds. Do you see any birds?
Oh, I could see it's coming.
It could be they're coming, but I don't see any birds today. It must be too cold. What else do you see?
Birds is freezing.
Yes, the birds might be freezing. That would be sad, wouldn't it?
I get a blanket.
I don't know if birds wear blankets, but that's a good idea. Well, it was very funny when we finally got to the end of it and Evelyn told us we could stop doing all the things that we had been taught to do, that it was okay, that Ruffin was really going to be okay. That was wonderful. People have met Ruffin who are school psychologists or psychologists and they don't get it, that he ever had autism. They cannot see it. But he's in a college preparatory program in a very fine Catholic boarding school. He's making straight A's. And he's doing that with the ability to speak that he learned from CART, because I don't know how he would have been able to function if he hadn't learned to talk and learned to listen. And so he has very high listening skills. He has a very nice high vocabulary. He's reading very well now.
I like science and math. Language is okay. I like good books. I don't care for writing.
I think he wants to go to college to be an engineer. He's always been interested in sticks and strings and constructions, and he certainly has a lot of men on both sides of his family who are engineers.
I buy a new issue not to advertise the magazine specifically, but I get different stuff and RC pieces deeply. It's electronics, and I've always been a fan of the remote control. You can get titanium pieces, but that's like insanely expensive. And they have brushless motors, which is like a piece of metal touching the axle. So, like, because brushes are somewhat inefficient, but they're a lot cheaper and mature technology, so they're all cheap. You have to have a heat sink for that. I don't find it getting hot, but if you don't, they like melt, which is bad.
I thought maybe if we were really lucky, we might get to Asperger's syndrome. But I really have a very normal kid now. And lots of normal worries, but not extraordinary ones.
I think when he came in and met with Dr. Grant Boucher, he only had a few sounds, a few words. He understood a few instructions that were situational at best, so during meal times, during times when they were going out to play or something like that. So he would know to get his shoes or to get the cup or what have you. But his expressive language was extremely limited. He had a good range of self-stimulatory behaviors. He was flapping, hand flapping, toe walking, some hyperactivity. There was also some motor deficiencies to some extent. Eye contact was poor as well.
Look at me. What's your name?
My name is Brett.
Ask me.
Lisa, what's your name?
My name is Lisa. How old are you?
I'm 4 years old.
Ask me. Look, ask me.
Wait.
No. How old are you?
I'm 4 years old.
Look.
Lisa, how old are you?
Good job. I'm 25.
The first year and a half, they were doing drills every day. Things were going pretty well. He was able to talk. He was starting to talk, learning more words, learning what they meant. But he was having more eye contact, but not real good eye contact. And one of the things CAR did for us, they always hooked us up with alternative providers. Good speech therapists, referrals to whoever they thought we needed in addition. Medical doctors that were doing cutting edge things. Doreen was on top of that. And one of the things she said was, you need to get him to a vision specialist, okay, and that do vision therapy. And I don't know what that is, but we've done it all, so I made an appointment, And the doctor, and he says, well, he has absolutely no ability to use his central vision. And he explained what that meant to me. And so what that meant is the only way his brain could really understand and see things is using his peripheral vision. So it took me about 10 minutes to figure out what he said and what he meant. What he meant is that Brett was looking at everybody the whole time. Like that. Because that's the only way he could do it.
I don't like battery.
Brett, look at me. Why do you like Grandma?
She's nice to you.
To me?
Yes, because she is nice to me.
Good.
The very devastating thing about autism is that you not only have to take in and deal with such a pervasive and significant diagnosis. I mean, any kind of diagnosis, when someone tells you your child is sick with a cold, it's upsetting. But when you hear something like your child has autism, that's very difficult to take. And what makes it even more difficult, I think, is that there's not a very good understanding of what autism is about, so your physician is unlikely to tell you what that means, first of all. And secondly, people don't realize enough that recovery is possible from autism, that there are ways that you can help your child become much better and actually recover from the diagnosis. The general medical community believes that this is a lifelong disorder, unfortunately.
I always, I wondered what would happen if I had listened to the person that diagnosed him. As the years went on, it made me so angry. It's one of the things that angered me the most about the whole situation was that this person almost cheated Brett out of his whole life.
There were a lot of times when I was with him that he just seemed to figure things out. We always had different various targets that we worked on. Richard and I would just constantly go about to different skills in a variety of different ways to really focus on generalization, so he wasn't memorizing anything and nothing was rote. A lot of it was at that point, even though we had a table and chair, we really weren't doing much at the table and chair unless it was like homework.
I'll talk about the last day, if I could do it without crying. A lot of this stuff it was really emotional for me at the end because we had worked so hard. We had done so many different things. We did vision therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, all those years. And of course, CARD was the main instigator of all the progress, Of course it was. The last few weeks were very hard. It was very hard. You'd think I would be happy, and I was happy, but it was like you just couldn't believe that it was over, and it was so emotional. I had a hard time keeping it together the last couple of weeks, but we had, all the different pieces of equipment. You have, the table that they can sit at, and they do their drills every day, and they do their work. So towards the end, the last 6 months or so, it was just Richard and Kathy coming, and we're getting close to the end, and I took the table and I turned it over, and I had his grandmother was there for a lot of the time when I was at work and they did the sessions. We had her sign it, we had Richard sign it, we had Kathy sign it, I signed it, and Brett signed it. And the last day, Richard signed it. Richard was the last one to come. He signed off, and shook Brett's hand and said, "You're done," and Brett was very happy. We brought the table home, and his father and him put it up in the rafters in the attic, and Brett says, "I'll never sit at that table again." And I said, "No, you won't. You don't ever have to sit there again." And it was like closure for him, He has 5 or 6 friends that he can call up, and he enjoys being with them. They go to the movies and they hang out. He likes to be a couch potato when he's allowed to, which is fine. He's in the Scouts and he likes it well enough. He likes his video games, and he's starting to be interested in girls, which the other kids in his little clique are just starting to also.
Okay, now it's your turn. I gotta get a new controller.
Or I take it and play one first. See if we can fix it.
Alright. Hey, Mom.
Yeah?
Tomorrow we're going to the store and buying a new controller, okay?
What?
Mom, I meant, please can we go to the store tomorrow and buy a new controller?
Yeah, we'll try to do that.
What do you guys want to do when you grow up?
I want to be a police officer because you get to help people.
Sounds good. What grades do you get?
A's.
That's impressive.
My mom gives me $10 for every A I get.
I just get good grades, and then I tell my parents, like, if I want to sleep over at a friend's house, I say, "But Mom, I got straight A's." Then she wants to.
You can also use it to get your parents to buy you something.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
So his plans for the future, I do see him getting married. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. He is pretty good with his relationships. I think he is really special. As long as he touches other people, as long as he has relationships with other people, which was supposed to be impossible for him.
He came in at 4.5, so he was quite old when he came in for intake. Typical tantrum, non-compliance, didn't want interaction, screamed the most when you made him play or were trying to teach him how to play. A lot of self-stimulatory behaviors on objects like traffic lights or signs of places. He had a lot of probably one-word labels, so he knew labels of objects. There was no descriptor language. There was no adjectives. There was no verbs. Primarily, everything was either I want or he was just naming the name of object.
He had somewhere between 25 and 40 hours at different times. He did some public school speech therapy, which was a complete waste of time. He never did occupational therapy. Maybe he should have done that. He's never done any biomedical interventions. Those things weren't available when he was younger.
At the first time something like that happened for me, I was really scared because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I was shy back then.
The
really
first
shy.
time therapist came over?
Yeah, because I didn't know what these strangers are doing in my house. I didn't know why they were here anyway. I just wasn't aware of myself and what was going on. At the time, I didn't even know about what I was suffering from.
Count.
1, 2, 3. Oh, I need it.
No.
I need it, but I need it. I can't, Mom.
Hands quiet.
I need it. I need mine.
Count.
Yeah. Count it.
It was so awful. I mean, the first 2 years I just said, I'm in hell. I mean, this is all very, internal and not really about Nick. It's, me reflecting on how I felt. But I felt as if I'd been tricked. Here I'd had these 2 kids and I was so in love with them and I thought it was so great to be a parent, and all of a sudden it was as if it had all been turned on its head and somebody was mocking me and saying, you, you were totally wrong about this. It was like being on another planet. And I guess it probably was really, really acutely terrible for about 2 years, and then it got better.
Hey, give me 5. Oh, up high. Down low. Too slow. Too slow. Oh, you got me. Okay.
What I always tell parents at intake when they're struggling with the thought that it's actually possible to teach so much, or when will their child actually have a positive behavior, or when will they see this cycle getting worse, and when will it start to get better, what I always tell them is this is actually a blessing, because with normally developing children, they change so fast, they acquire skills so fast that you will never really appreciate what they're learning. But with your child, you're going to appreciate every single step. When you see him say for the first time, "Mommy, I love you," you're never going to forget that. When you, for the first time, you see him play with a sibling, with a peer, you're never going to forget that. Every step of the way, you're going to be reminded of the effort that it took and now what he's accomplished. So it's really wonderful to be able to see those skills developing step by step.
I did hate it, to be honest, but I can't remember why. It was just probably, I just didn't like to be forced down to try everything when I thought I actually had it together, or I was afraid to do it. But as time went on, I just realized that I needed to do this.
Count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Fantastic, Dee. Give me 5, buddy. All right. Can I have a hug?
He is correct, I think, in that at a certain point, without us ever knowing, he made a decision, and he's about the hardest working person you'll ever meet. And he has the best attitude of anybody I know. He's an incredibly cheerful, forgiving, sweet person, and those qualities in combination are responsible, I think, for a lot of his success as a person.
I think the major point I really realized that was when I began school for the first time. I just wanted to be able to be a regular kid out there in the world and get along with others and be able to have my friends. I just wanted to have a good life. I just wanted to be able to go out in the world and fight and just not have any autism keep me from doing so. And so I decided that I just needed that therapy anyway. I just wanted it.
Okay, guys. What has 8 legs, 2 hands, a nose, wings, a saddle, a beak, teeth, and a cowboy hat?
What has 8 legs, a nose, saddle, teeth, and a cowboy hat? What?
A man on a horse holding a chicken.
Where did you learn that joke?
Well, I just made it up by myself so I could try to become good at making these jokes, which I was not good at when I was younger, because I always gave something away in a joke, but now I'm better at that.
Well, the things I enjoy most with my friends is being able to share my music with them. We play some baseball. We either go to the movies or play video games, or basically that's what we do. Sometimes we even fight for pleasure, not because we hate each other, but just because we don't have anything better to do. And we talk about life.
He's learning how to drive a car. I mean, he's talking about maybe becoming an exchange student. He's studying a foreign language. He likes girls a lot. He's playing guitar, and he's writing lyrics and writing music. He's writing his own songs.
I wish I could be a rock star because I've really, owing to my father, I've inherited a love of music. I play guitar now. I used to play piano, but then interests shift. But I hope one day that this brings me back to the keys.
There's a lot of scientific research that shows children recover from autism, and yet still the medical community in general is not aware of how prevalent recovery is. More than half of the children receiving intervention at an early age recover completely. And when I say recover, I mean they are scoring normally on intelligence testing, on language testing, on adaptive functioning tests. They are mainstreamed into regular education schools, and the diagnosis is removed. In other words, a psychiatrist or psychologist seeing this child would not be able to say they ever had a diagnosis of autism. And for children who don't recover even, the vast majority of children improve with these types of interventions, with ABA therapy, for instance, and they continue to become more and more functional as they get older. And they find jobs and they go to school. A lot of the children who are still with us are actually finishing high school now.
The things that really, really worked the most were just hard work, which is what the therapy is. You get in there and you teach them, you train them, and you go over and over and over again until it's cemented in their pathway. Then you go on to the next one and build the next little block. And then before you know it, the whole pathway is filled in and they can walk across the little bridge and go off and do everything that they need to do.
It's a tough road, but you got to do it.
It was worth it.
Yeah, but you, as a parent, you don't see that it's worth, that it's going to pay off or it's going to be worth it. You're just, it's so hard to imagine that they're going to be okay or they're going to function somehow any little bit. That's all you grasp onto. You don't think that they can be a whole person.
Whatever it takes, do it quickly, do it early, do it hard in the beginning. The payoffs are enormous. I think we've saved our family an enormous amount of money and financial ruin. I don't know how we would have cared for him for a lifetime. And I don't think that the social service support is going to be there in the future. I think it's very important to get an early diagnosis and to do whatever you have to do financially to make it possible to do something between ages 3 and 5, 4 and 6. But don't wait and hope, because I don't think anything good happens that way.
I tell people, and I don't mean this out of disrespect to Nick, but when he was 4, he was a blob. I mean, there was a person in there, but that person was in real danger of never being educable. He's been educated, Card taught him how to learn, and he took all that and he's made a very conscious study of this world and trying to figure out what he couldn't understand.
I just hope that one day these kids won't have to go through such horror in their life of being autistic and having trouble speaking, reading, or writing. It would just be good if there's a way we can all be normal.
Our passion's on fire to bring you back. Working with the doctors who left the pack, and all the greedy hands that hide the truth. We're gonna find a key that unlocks a mystery, 'cause we're all in this thing together. There's hope for you to heal. Our dreams for you are real. There's hope for us to heal. There's hope
days when I do exit interviews, when our children recover and they come in for their last clinic with me. That is a very good day.